So now we have a database. Let's get some data inside there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use migrations in this occasion to actually seed some data into our database. Now, in order to do this, we'll go back to our data context file. And what we want to do is override a method inside our DB context that we're deriving from, which is the onModelCreating method. And this is going to allow us to configure our entities as our migration is being created. So what we want to do here is we just want to come down below our DB set of values, and we'll add a method in here, and this will be a protected method. And protected means that it's accessible to the class itself it's defined in, and any derived classes from this class. And we'll say override because we want to override a method that's available inside the DB context. And it's going to be void because we're not returning anything from this. And we're going to call it onModelCreating. And the onModelCreating method takes a model builder as a parameter, and we'll call it builder. And what we can do inside here is say builder.entity. And then we specify the entity we want to work with as a type. In this case, it's going to be the value. And inside here, what we can do is use one of these methods available in our model builder. And what we want to do here is say that this one has data. And this one configures this entity to have seed data. And it's used to generate data motion migrations. So we'll make use of this to supply some data that we want in our database. And inside here, we just create some new values that we want to add. So I'm going to say new value. And then we need to initialize this with some values. So we need to specify the ID. And we'll say the ID equals 1. And then we'll need to specify the name property. And for the name property, I'm just going to say value 101. We're just doing things as simply as possible at this moment in time. Now, I'll just add a couple more values inside here, and I'll change the ID from 1 to 2 and add a third ID. And I'll also change the names from 102 and 103. And I don't need this trailing comma here. And just close off this particular method as well. Now, what we should be able to see is that when we create another migration, this is going to create a migration that then attempts to insert these values into our values table. So I'm just going to go back to the command line, and once again what we want to do is we want to stop our API server, otherwise we're going to run into a build error when we try and create our migration. I'm just going to cd upper level, and then what I'm going to do is say .NET EF migrations add, and I'm just going to give it a name of seed data, or more accurately seed values in this case. And then I'm going to specify the project where our data context is, so it's the persistence. And then I'm going to specify the startup project, which is our API, and then press return to create this new migration. And once this has been created, let's go take a look and see what this is giving us. And inside my migrations folder, I have a seed values class. And if we take a look at this inside the up method, then we can see that we're inserting data into our values table. So if we restart our application, this is going to apply the latest migration to our database, and this should in turn add these three values into our values table. So let's restart our application. So I'm just going to cd into the API project once again, and just do a .NET watch run, and press return. And once this has restarted, then I'm just going to take a look at my SQLite database. So I'm just going to open the SQLite Open Database, choose the Reactivities DB, go into our Solution Explorer here, and let's take a look at our values table once again. And this time we can see that there are now 3 values that live inside it. So now we have some data to work with. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at how we can extract these values from our database as a list and then return them from our current API endpoints, which is just our values controller that either gets all the values or just a single value and returns that. And we'll take a look at that next.